Okay.
Yeah, it's Harlem Globetrotters carry it,
Oh.
Saugus.
That would explain why there's 0 parking spaces.
All right, let's get started. Good evening. This is the February 12th, 2024 meeting of the Lowell Historic Board. We have one public hearing on tonight's agenda. That is DLHD-24-32, 355 Market Street, an application for a historic permit by Longonaut Construction LLC for construction of outdoor seating and landscaping on an existing vacant lot. If the applicant would like to step forward to the podium and introduce yourselves and present the application, we'd appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Cohen, and I'm the landscape architect on the project, and representing tonight Longonaut and Studio 26, who's been working with us on the project. Hopefully you've all got a chance to go through our packet. It shows the changes that have come from the initial planning of the city of Jess Wilson. Sorry, I have like my readers and my eyes. We kind of carried through that concept, trying to simplify and think about cost as we made accessible entrances both to Tasty Dumpling and to Nirvana Cafe. We have increased the amount of planting from the previous concept and kept kind of the shade structures pretty simple. We've also dimensionally, I think the diagram's in there, we've kept it 10 feet from the building and then 10 feet from each other. And then the planting list should also be in your packet as well, but we've got some street trees kind of running along the length of the sidewalk. And the other piece is the fence along the alley. That's kind of dividing the site from the alley. And then we have kind of asphalt paths going to the entrances of the building, and then under the seating structures, we have pavers proposed right now. So kind of a little bit more of a slow down material right there to where people will be sitting. I don't know if you have any questions on the concept or anything like that. We are coming before you for sections 5.2. Paving and planting, and 5.5 fencing and screening.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Second call, third call, hearing none. Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Second call, third call. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and open it up for board questions and discussion. George?
Yes, I have a question. You know, we did a project similar to this, design concept over on the other part of town for UTech a little while ago. Okay. So I'm kind of juxtaposing this against that. This looks like a beautiful idea and a beautiful space. Do you foresee, from the pictures here, I don't see any like fencing around the perimeter, just in the backside. Will there be any fencing or anything around this?
There's no fencing proposed at the public sidewalks.
Yep.
There is planting bed except like it's 3 feet, I think, on one side on the Cardinal O'Connell. I think it's like a 5-foot wide planting bed, and so there'll be shrubs and trees all along there. And the entrances are about, I think, 8 feet wide, so they're a little wider for the entrances, but no fencing along the public sidewalk.
Sure. Thank you.
One question I had, it's not really a historic preservation or compatibility question, but it's more kind of functionality. I noticed that along Cardinal O'Connell, there's really no curb. The curb is flush with the adjacent street for most of that stretch. And I noticed that there's one light pole that's on that sidewalk that is protected by a number of bollards. So it would suggest to me that there's maybe been a previous history of cars jumping that curb and striking that pole and potentially this area due to the lack of a curb reveal there. There's one question would be, I don't know if the city is planning on addressing that lack of a curb at that location, or if not, if there's a concern about or history of car crashes or something that would, in which instance we might want to be concerned about having some more heavier barriers or something along that road to prevent cars from jumping over and striking people in that plaza.
We didn't consider that along that side. I think the sidewalk there's about 10 feet wide. It's pretty wide there.
Yeah, it is fairly wide, I agree,
And
yeah.
then set back another 5. We didn't consider it there, but on the fence side for the detail at the alley,
yep.
where we were a little bit worried about that, we're trying to kind of do a little more of a heavy-duty pole on that side, a galvanized. And there was also consideration about thinking about the ground where it's going to be salted quite a bit too.
Yes, good point,
That
yep.
we would set the planting and the fence back to allow for
Okay.
a little strip for water. Yeah, so we were considering it more on the alley side. We hadn't really considered much bollards or anything on the other side. Also, because the sidewalk is really outside of our limit of.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't control that curb issue, but,
Yeah,
okay.
noted.
Yeah, I will say from the city side, there definitely was a history of people bumping into that pole. Not since these two businesses have been there. Previously, there was like a grocery store that essentially used that entire side as like their parking area, and so people were constantly in and out of there. But since these two businesses, they've both have had. I mean, this is going to be a significantly more beautiful version of their outdoor seating, but they both have had an outdoor seating presence since they opened, and haven't had, issues haven't come to the transportation engineer about any kind of safety like that. And then I think given the width of the sidewalk and the distance that they're set even further back, that we felt from the planning side comfortable with not sort of expecting the kind of heavy duty like concrete barriers or that kind of stuff that we've done in like the streeteries where people are like right up against vehicles.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful to hear. For upkeep of the shrub beds and the trees, are you planning any kind of in-ground irrigation? Or is it all going to be hand watering, or what's your plan for the
Yeah,
upkeep?
we hadn't called out any irrigation for that. The maintenance will fall on the owners and tenants. And so we're at the design development phase. We're kind of working through the CDs and cost stuff there. So right now, I think the plan was more hand watering and thinking about it that way than irrigation connections to the building.
Yeah, 'cause I love the idea of all these low plantings and other plantings too.
I will say too, one thing, the site does get pretty wet, and so we are thinking about it's all kind of grading to the planting bed on the, I can't think of the street name, so that the water will kind of roll through those planting beds and catch
Oh, okay.
on the rainy days. So the grading of the site is considering the stormwater as well, that will have
okay.
to be kept on site.
Just one comment or question, I guess. I assume that you've discussed the availability of trees with the Greening the Gateway Cities program, because
Yeah.
this is in an eligible area for free street
Yes,
trees.
These
Okay.
will be free street trees. So right now, they've been reviewed, and the tree is accepted right now as from the National Historic Park landscape architect. We have not necessarily secured that those are the exact trees, but there was crossover of those lists to make sure. Yeah, and we're going for like a smaller to medium-sized tree.
Just a question
Yeah.
for the plantings and the trees. I just wondered, was the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust consulted at all? Jane Calvin?
No, we didn't, but we were trying to work within like the palette of natives plants. So no, we didn't consult with them. They haven't reviewed the plans right now.
Jane is a partner in the Greening the Gateway Cities program. They get funded through that same program. So anything that they approve, I'm sure will be consistent with something that Jane would be okay with as well. And just looking at the suggested land year planting schedule, it seems very focused on natives and things that we're looking to see more of in the neighborhood anyway.
We were working for hardy natives that would withstand kind of the more urban, just a little more robust planting. It's a good one. It's a good plant list.
And Steve, I understand that David Lieb and you weighed in and provided some advice on how to approach the design elements and whatnot as part of this.
There really wasn't a whole lot to do on this. I mean, they took Jess's initial concept and then fleshed it out more and made it more, let's say, buildable, let's say that. And what was good with David and I, we looked at the plant list, and there were a couple of trees that we suggested be changed to be more scale appropriate. They didn't get overly large, and that they were right, urban type street trees. So, no, I think, and the various shade structures and all of that, I think that it's going to work out well on that site. I think that the current tenants have done a great job taking an asphalt parking strip and with furniture and planters, making it usable. But in the end, it's still an asphalt paving area. So this will do a lot to really soften up that edge and just integrate it more into the businesses in that corner, I think.
Well, I appreciate the applicant's willingness to have that consultation and take on some of those suggestions and advice from David and from Steve, given their extensive knowledge of
Yeah.
the city and what's appropriate. And that kind of pre-board meeting consultation is always critical to this whole process. So thanks for that.
It's been a good process.
Good. Glad to hear.
Strong concept from the city, so it was nice to carry it through.
I just want to say this is terrific. We need more greenery on this side of Dutton Street, and we need it everywhere, but as somebody who patronizes both of these businesses, this is so inviting, for pedestrians and visitors to City Hall who want to grab lunch after. It looks more like a place you want to go and hang out, and the more people on the streets, the safer the streets are for all of us, and just thank you for your work. It looks great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, I think it is a beautiful design. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great. Well, if there are no further comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
I will do a motion to approve with the recommendations that are included in the report's middle review of
I'll second that.
Okay. All in
final
favor?
details, blah, blah, blah.
sorry.
So.
All right, that's been seconded by George, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yay.
Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, should we move on to approval of the minutes from December 11th? Has everyone had a chance to review those, and does anyone have any comments or questions or edits to make? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved. You made the motion? Carrie. And Steve, do you want to review any critical items in the other business?
As usual, everything is here is informational and for your
Enjoyment, I guess. The couple of things in here, let's see, the permitting is still running ahead by several months compared to last fiscal year. And there are, have exceeded what we thought we would do for consultations for this fiscal year. Now, some of these are multiple times.
Yeah, I saw those numbers.
And whatever.
Yeah.
And those don't include post-review, go to the site, look
Right.
at samples. This is the advanced stuff. But, that's good that that's still on the uptick, and that's always a good sign for activity. The board member information errors for you to see, both George and Troy were confirmed last week by the city council.
Yep.
And so everything's looking good on that. The 40th anniversary, I was able to get a really nice digital image of the article the Sun wrote about a few days after the board's first meeting in 1984, which includes a very young photo of both Jim Milanazzo and Fred Faust in it. So that'll be going up online at some point soon.
Nice.
let's see, Doors Open Lowell, just before the meeting, met with Chris and Wednesday from LTC, and we're looking at, they approached me about doing promo work for Doors Open Lowell, and also day of event shooting and interviews that will become sort of a legacy show after the fact. So we're getting them involved a lot more in that this year. We're still looking at doing 10 or 11 buildings in the morning, 10 or 11 in the afternoon. The morning is almost taken shape, and in about a week it's actually not bad. So we're finding that there's a unit we always loved to see in the Fairburn building. Well, he's moved on and sold and lives out of state now. It's been 4 years. There's, the Franco's now apartments. It's a little bit iffy getting in there, but, we have the Tremont Yard basement open again, Masonic Temple. I'm gunning for a couple of new buildings, including the Hildreth, to meet the architect and the developers, kind of a pre-construction meet and greet, learn what's going to happen there type of a thing. Met with the Park Service and the Heritage Partnership about bringing the awards back on the same week. So the ball's kind of in their court right now to see how they want to address that. But, all in all, it's coming together very nicely, I think. I've always joked with people, Doors Open Lowell's kind of like sea monkeys. You add water and it's an instant event. So you just plug it in and it happens. It's, pretty easy to pull off. The Business Improvement District, that's in there. George is going to be the rep on the steering committee.
Thank you, George.
So... Then that was great for Giovanni to suggest that. I think that was a great idea to have someone from here on there. And then really everything else in here is just, for you to digest unless you have any questions.
I did have a question. I should have mentioned this when approving the minutes. I thought we had a discussion on Smith Baker last.
It's in there.
Did I somehow miss it?
Oh, I didn't pull the minutes for. I just gave you the advance notes. The minutes do reflect the extensive Smith Baker conversation.
Thank you for confirming that. But is there any? It's only been a month, or is it 2 months now since we last met?
Yeah.
2 1. Yeah. Is there anything new on the Smith Baker?
Not that I'm aware of, other than we're still looking at possible. I don't know, Giovanni, where are we at on Smith Baker? I mean, it's sort of the same status quo.
Yeah, pretty much. We're still trying to sort out what next steps are
Yeah, but there's no one has approached the city with any.
about purchasing it or doing anything with it.
Anything.
Nothing.
Again, that'll be a Mega Millions thing for me tonight.
If anyone's listening, please feel free to reach out.
There'll be a beautiful garden right across the street now that you can have dinner in, so that definitely will enhance the area, correct?
No, Gray, nothing more on at least our front. I know I did get all of you the report from the National Park Service
Yes,
on
thank you
that.
for sending that out.
And I know some internal people also have been provided that a few times. And the last contact I had was actually the city's asset manager had come over looking for information on permits pulled, and I directed where he should look in the building department for those records. So that's about it.
Thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, it's exciting to see Doors Open Lowell coming back after a 5-year break, and I think that was only going to 2019 to 2024. I thought that was 5 years.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, it is, okay. I'm still thinking my math from last night at the Super Bowl.
But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of built-up interest in that as a result. So
Yeah, there was a lot of Yahoos online, which was really nice. So, but yeah, it's busy between getting that event put together, a couple of other projects coming up that you'll see hopefully next month, the month after. Just fielding a lot of things going on. Plus, with spring gearing up, we're going to get out there some more. And there's a couple of maintenance targets we want to work with people on. And one of them would be the Mansard building at 101 Central. The owner didn't know he was in the district when he bought the building, but he's been very good to work with, very communicative and so forth. So we're hoping to get that resolved, especially since the Park Service just spent a lot of money to redo the cantilevered walkway over the Bucket Canal behind Trio. So we want that up to snuff over there.
Just have a couple city things that I think the group might find interesting. So The CPC recently made recommendations to the council. Those will be going, the Community Preservation Council, those will be going to a subcommittee soon. And so on the recommendation list are two projects that this group also saw. So the project, the Vlahos building, am I saying that right? Is that the one on Market Street, the former King Star Cafe? That one was recommended for funding, as was the project on Middlesex Street. I forget the number. It's like a,
150.
yeah.
The former school slash
Correct,
church
yeah.
slash, yeah.
So both of those were recommended for funding, and that recommendation is being sent to a finance subcommittee. So hopefully soon, the CPC sort of awards will be finalized, which will be exciting. And then already, I don't think it's on my agenda yet. And then the other thing, and just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Steve was just saying, the city did roll out a commercial vacancy registration program, which is essentially mandating property owners who own properties that have vacant commercial space begin registering those. There is a fee for that registration. That fee will continue to escalate over time. And, the intention of that is to open sort of lines of communication with commercial property owners who maybe need a hand or aren't aware of the many resources the city has available. So our Director of Economic Development is helping spearhead that. It's something that the council voted in favor of creating the program, and we're hopeful that it's going to help generate some conversation with some of our more stubborn vacancies over time. It is something that we do anticipate rolling out citywide, but for our first sort of push is going to be focused really in downtown. And the way the ordinance was written will include people need to register each commercial unit, so not a building. So if you have a building that has many vacancies, we're actually asking you to register all of those locations so we can have a better handle on what the vacancy sort of real count is, but also we felt like in some ways we needed to make people feel it so that we could get a response in a real way. So we'll be doing some additional outreach. We've done a lot of outreach to property owners downtown. Not surprisingly, a lot of the really sort of proactive owners are very much in favor of this. And so we're going to be reaching out in writing to all commercial property owners, and in that letting them know about the ordinance, but also sharing a bunch of information about all the programs we have available to help them address those vacancies. So I hope that means that we'll see maybe some momentum on some properties that haven't been in front of this board in a really long time. And hopefully we'll see some properties kind of get activated.
So when you say the downtown, roughly, how far does that extend?
Yeah, so we're really focusing, I think mostly in the core right now. So it'll be like, the length of Merrimack, Middle, Market, Central, for the most part.
From the property owner standpoint, do you think the issue is more of them not taking the initiative to promote the availability of these spaces, or is it the rent that they're charging that is prohibitive to businesses coming in, or what do you see as being one of the key issues behind the big?
Yeah, I think it depends on the building. So I think some have been occupied enough to cover costs. Okay. And so there hasn't been an incentive necessarily to sort of really proactively address leasing up further. I think some have been unsure about, if commercial is still the best use of the building, but that transition requires some investment. And then for others, I think it has been just like a lack of investment over time. So the building's kind of not as attractive to potential tenants. And so, the city has a variety of financial assistance programs that can help property owners, potential tenants. Like, we have a laundry list of stuff. But if people aren't coming to us and kind of talking with us about what they're looking for and what we can kind of bring to the table, it's been really hard to get to that. And so our hope is that this is going to be, we'll rattle some cages and get people, having that conversation with us. As I said, our director of economic development is going to be leading the charge on this. She came to Lowell from the town of Arlington, where they had a program. And when they implemented the program, saw a really substantial decrease in vacancy, and also were able to create actual sort of like open lines of communication with property owners in the municipality, which hadn't existed previously. So in some ways, just getting that open line of communication is really like one of the main goals.
Thanks. Anything else the board wants to bring up before we adjourn? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.